Good morning. Oh, somebody's not. Can you guys hear me? Let's see. Maybe everybody just joined and isn't actually here. Oh, somebody's. And can you see my shared screen? We can hear you. Woohoo! We're 15 minutes early, but I wanted to check sound. We currently have no one in the room, so I'm presenting to a room of Brenda and Kelsey. We'll see if a few people actually um, drove through the snow to get here. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome, everybody. We're going to be another minute or two just to get the last couple people in that braved the snow to get to us. And then we'll start here in about a minute or two. I'm enjoying watching all of your good mornings from everywhere. I can tell you that it is snowy here. It seems like many years we've had the first snow of the season during our meeting. Well, I think this is the third snow of the season, so we're right on. We're behind schedule, I guess, or we're ahead of schedule this year. But we'll give you a minute or two, and then we'll get started. Okay, welcome everybody. It's a very small group in the room, so we've got a few libraries that braved the snow to get here. We have lots of extra lunches, so if you can get here by noon, we'll have lunch for you for all of those people that I know we're trying to get here, and then Mother Nature gave us another a better idea of what we were doing. So a little bit of welcome. I feel kind of funny talking to the 5 people in the room that are here, but welcome. Few housekeeping things. Lunch will be served at the end. We have plenty of lunch, so if you know anyone in the Greenwood area, no, go ahead and have them come by. Restrooms are out and to the left. I always say with the restrooms here, look at the picture because it doesn't say women's or men's. It just says restroom. But there are women's and men's. They aren't. So I always have to double check here. It's an interesting thing for me. But you know, introduction, I'm Lisa Johnson. For those of you, I know everybody in the room, but for those of you that might be on the phone that don't know me, I am one of the owners of ABC. My dad, Brent, actually wrote most of this software, and I've been updating it ever since. He taught me all the ropes and all the tips and tricks. And actually this year, for really the first time ever, we brought Brian in, who is a co-owner and my husband, to do some updates. His degree is computer engineering, so he is much better at coding than me. So he's added a couple really cool things, you know, as software that's been around for 30 years, I think maybe Steve said. There's not a lot of big changes that we need to make, but a few small ones. So we've added a couple little features that I think people will like. But in general, the software is pretty well the same. So lunch information meeting. We did that. It's interesting on only 2 screens. Okay. Who is ABC Technology? I know a lot of you in the room already know this, but we are an IT services company. That means we provide IT services and accounting and payroll software. So if your library is ever questioning whether the security is good and whether you're set up for the best and most consistent environment, give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you about that. I know with the CyberTrack coming out from the Indiana Office of Technology, we've helped some customers through that, and it's really kind of an interesting thing. I think that compliance is coming down the pipe for libraries as government offices. So definitely, if you have questions on that, let us know. We're happy to help with that. So I can't see the chat and my computer at the same time, so it's always fun. All right. Who am I? We already did this. Brian and I are owners. We have a team of about 12 people now, so we're continuing to grow. We have the accounting and payroll software in about 150 libraries around the state of Indiana, and IT services in about 35. So we love libraries. We focus on that. We know your budgets are, we'll call them up in the air for the next few years. And, you know, we really pride ourselves in being able to take the budget that you have and make the most of it. So for both the accounting and payroll and the IT services side. This is your accounting support team. You'll see those of you that are here will see Kelsey and Brenda in the back. Those of you online can see pictures of them. Jolene was on last year. I am happy to report that I believe she's going to be back doing some updates for us. She's agreed to that, so I'll get her schedule for tomorrow, or I'm going to lunch with her tomorrow, so we'll figure that out. But I know I told her a lot of people would be happy to talk to her again, so I think she'll be back for a little bit. Who knows who you'll get? Okay. Oh, yeah, I guess that is. This is how you get in touch with us. And the reason I put this here and everywhere is because this is the fastest way. Most people don't email me directly anymore, but if you email me directly, I get hundreds of emails a day. I try to get through them all, but they do get lost. So if you use our accounting@abctechcorp.com email, that's a great way to get us. And then our phone number is the 4609 number. That gets you directly to Kelsey, Lindsay, or myself generally.
Google does not.
Google, yeah, the Google phone number does not. It will eventually it goes to Brendan. But just so you know that, and as we get busier in January and February, know that calling that number is the fastest way to get an answer, or honestly, sending an email is best, because then we can look at it and go, okay, Kelsey, you take that one, I'll take that one, tell us what your problem is. Then we can get it to the right person really fast. So that's the best way to get to us, especially in busy season. All right, today we're going to cover some tips and tricks. We'll cover the changes to the accounting program and the changes to the payroll program. I told you there's not a ton this year, but there are a couple cool things that I think people are really going to like. A couple that are still in the works, but will be done by December 17th when we start updates. We'll cover what you need to do at the end of the year, producing W-2s, that sort of information, any warnings that we might have, how to schedule your update. I'm going to say this now. I'm going to say it loud. We're going to send out before Friday the link to do the update, to schedule your update. Doesn't make it any faster if you call us and ask us or anything like that. I know you guys are all excited to schedule, but it'll come out before the end of Friday. We have to get everybody's calendars updated correctly, or else we get people scheduling all over the place. So we'll get that done. And then questions and suggestions. And generally we do a lot of open discussion. There's not many of you in the room, so definitely utilize the chat. Brenda and Kelsey are looking at the chat, and we'll read those questions aloud so everybody can hear them. All right. I'm going to start with, are you backing up your accounting and payroll software? This has become, we have had a few libraries that have been hit with ransomware, and we've had to, on a payroll day, and having a good backup that's easy to get to is so important for things like that. We just recently had somebody's computer died, and having a good backup, their hard drive just died, that you can get to quickly is important. So are you backing it up? Are you sure that you can get to the data? Have you checked the data to make sure that it's available? Do you check to make sure it runs every day? Those are all important things. I think a couple of years ago, State Board of Accounts put that into their guidelines, that you have to have it backed up daily, I believe. So I always like to remind people of that. A few notes. If you are using a receipt budget, I'd ask the room how many people are using one, but there's not many of you. So if you budget for your receipts, you have to have, my suggestion is receipt number one should be a receipt and have a $0 entry for every receipt type that you want to use. So say you want to use fines and fees, and you have budgets for fines and fees, lit, fit, put a receipt in with a 0. It doesn't show up on your receipt budget unless there's an entry, and it can be a 0 entry. So that way you can see consistency. Does that make sense? Okay. At the beginning of the year. So receipt number one, you'll go in and you'll create a 0 receipt and just include every line item that you want on your budget. And the receipt budget is done elsewhere, but not many people use receipt budget, but as we're transitioning budgeting and that sort of thing, it might be something that you want to use. So basically what a receipt budget is you can put in what you think you're going to get in receipts. Okay, so let me step back to receipt budgets, because I think maybe people don't use that a lot. You have the ability to receipt or to budget what you're going to receive in taxes and fines and fees and that sort of thing. And then you can pull a report that shows, here's what I budgeted and here's where I'm at for the year. If you want to do that though, and you want all of your line items to show up, you need to create one receipt that has a zero amount for each of the line items you want to see in your budget. And then otherwise they'll show up when they're used, but it just makes it look prettier if the whole year you have the same things. So then you can see what your actual receipt budget is. If you have an HSA that needs to be on the W-2 and you haven't done it before, you need to call me. Our W-2 program wasn't really set up for HSAs, so we have the ability to do it, but it takes some special modifications. So make sure that you just call us and we'll look at it and double check those. I'm going to put a little plug in here for Windows 10. It is now end of life. If your computer has Windows 10, you know, we do recommend it holds your accounting software that it gets replaced. It's no longer getting security updates. So it's important. The other thing I wanted to note is Office 2016 and Office 2019 went end of life in October also. So that means that there are no security updates for 2016 or 2019. What that means is someday hackers could find holes in those, and those could be more insecure. In our world that we live in, it could happen. I have customers out there that are still using Office 2010. I will remind all of you, you probably know who you are, maybe you don't. That's a 15-year-old piece of software that hasn't gotten security updates in 15 years. So I really recommend going to the new Office, either Office 365 or libraries qualify for nonprofit. You can get an LTSC license is what they're called, and that's like your standard install it, never pay for it again license for under a couple $100, and it's well worth it to keep your system secure. So if you haven't done that already, I would definitely make a plan for that. No questions? Kind of boring stuff. All right. Tips and tricks. I put go green for 2026. That's wrong. We have not picked a color yet. I usually was going to pull the room. So we'll share it on the screen and pull. I put it out on Facebook and I got hot pink and I got purple and I did get some blue. So I usually kind of like to do it in a democracy and we vote. So we'll pick a few colors. You'll see my software is still green this year, but I couldn't decide what we wanted. So I don't think hot pink. I don't think looking at bright colors makes my eyes hurt. So we'll figure out something else. But next tip is always call ABC when you get a new user. Never share passwords. Never share logins. It's not hard. We don't charge more. We don't care how many users you have, but you should have your own. We do track who does things. And I can say that we've knock on something. We haven't ever had, you know, a library that needed to do a, what do they call it? Criminal audit or an audit of, they call it something special where they're auditing because they think there was misbehavior. But it's just a good idea to not share passwords. Then we can blame someone else if they did something wrong. You know, we always look to blame whoever it is. So just call us. We can get you a new one. Send us an email. Let us know you need a new one and a good time to call, and we can do that too. Where is the button for posting receipts? I'm going to cover that one. Can you guys make a note for me to cover that one? I'm not going to bounce back and forth between the software. We'll go into the software in a minute. We usually have a conversation about posting vouchers and receipts. Most of my libraries, I won't have you raise your hands in the room because there's not many of you, post at the end of the year. You do have the ability to post your vouchers and your receipts whenever you want. There's a button in the file maintenance screen we'll show you in a minute. But most people choose to do it at the end of the year. Some people do it at the end of the month. What posting does is it makes it non-modifiable. That edit button at the top goes away. I think the reason most people do it is not because they're changing, you know, who they're making their checks out to, but it's because, you know, you're auditing things and you're like, oh, this should have come out of this account, not this account. And you can go back and change that, whereas you can't otherwise. So it just kind of depends. Like I said, almost every year I take the poll, I'd say about 95% of you post at the end of the year. My recommendation is do it after your AFR. Because if you post it before your AFR and then you're in there digging into all those numbers and you think you figure out you need to change something, we have to, you can call us and we can unpost it for you, but it's just more work. So wait until you get all those things posted, and then, you know, right before you transfer everything over to the next year, post at that point. If you are balancing and have if you have are balancing and have an open EFT, which is the check number is 0, and the payment didn't come out, I challenge you to look at it. Did it not come out because you did it on the 31st and it came out on the 1st? Did it not come out because you forgot to do it? Did it not come out because it was created an error or something? So they shouldn't carry over from, if you have a 3-month-old EFT and it hasn't cleared your bank statement yet, there's a problem, because EFTs come out almost immediately. I'll have people that are like, oh, well, I didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, well, if you didn't make the payment, then you need to void it because it didn't happen. Or they're like, well, I thought I paid it. Well, you didn't pay because it didn't come out of your checkbook. So like, get on to the IRS and pay that amount. So just keep that in mind as you're looking. I always tell people, especially at the end of the year, you know, the end of the year is a good time to look at all those open checks and clear out anything you can, whether they're EFTs or old checks. You know, there's no reason to transfer all that into the new year. If you pay your taxes in the same month as the payroll, you don't have a 0 balance on the financial, or you don't have a 0 balance on the financial report, call us. Something's wrong. So if you do all your payrolls and then on the 30th of the month you pay your taxes, all of your withholding accounts should be 0. If they aren't, something wasn't paid right. And I always tell people at the end of the month, look at that. If that's not right, call us. Look at the balance at the bottom. If your banks and your funds don't balance, something's wrong. Those are, you know, every time you print your financial report, you should be looking at those things. We did get a question from an auditor, and what this person was doing, I think, was they were paying their see if I can get the story right. They were paying their taxes on like the 1st or 2nd, but then they were dating the voucher like the 30th, and they had already pulled all their reports, so they weren't showing up on their check listing. So you want to make sure that, you know, you go in on the 30th and make those vouchers. Don't make them on the 5th for the 30th. You want to do them. My recommendation is do them as soon as you do your last payroll of the month. There's no reason to wait. The government's going to take your money. So just my 2 cents on that one.
You are going to do it like 1st and 2nd.
Right. So for those of you that didn't hear Kelsey in the back, she said, if you're going to do them on the 1st or the 2nd, just create your vouchers before you balance, because if you create your vouchers after you balance, they don't show up on your open checklist. And that's where the issue is. Okay. Oops. Getting a threat locker. Tips and tricks. Never change a payroll after you've created the Nacha file. I can't say this often enough. If you make a change, okay, just a minute. The threat locker?
No, your slideshow.
My slide.
Oh.
My slideshow is gone from everywhere. Hold on. I'm getting a locker request. Let's close this. Sorry, guys. Share that again. And then minimize this. And I need like 12 screens up here. Share. Okay. Are we back? Oh. Okay.
And we're running.
Oh man. Guess I should turn my phone. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's try this again. I love technology. Sometimes I wonder why we don't have it.
Well, how do you figure that out? Also, put it online.
So while I get my screen shared again, and my screen here shared again. Okay, let's stop sharing. Let's get escape there. Go here. Lost its ability to contact. Oh, I love technology. Duplicate or extend. Multiple displays. I didn't find another display. Let's try this again. Oh yeah, I haven't shared it yet. Give me a minute. I got too many things. Okay, you should see that. Now I should be able to share in Teams. Let's hope nothing funny happens again. Oh. Did you turn it off?
No.
Okay. Are we set? Sorry, guys. Gotta love technology. All right, let's get back to where we were. Okay. So if you use direct deposit and our Notcha file, if you go in and change something in payroll, like, oh man, I forgot so and so actually worked that holiday, I need to pay her 4 hours. You need to recreate your Notcha file. So it does not automatically update. You have to recreate it. So make sure you do that. The clear zeros button does, again, I was going to ask you guys, but the clear zeros button, we'll show you that one on in the accounting software. That's a fun button because if you're using defaults, like I think everybody should be, those vendor defaults where you put in the accounts that you usually spend from, you know, especially on a credit card, you might have 10 of those. And this month you only spent from 3. If you hit that clear zeros button, it just makes your voucher look pretty. So that's always a fun one to use. Another one, if you get dates, if you get pounds in your reports, you need to change the region on your, you need to go into region on your computer and set the date, or set it to short date of 2-digit year. Some of those dates are so tiny that if we put 4-digit year, they just don't fit on the report. So, and I got a computer now. What I can tell you that this year is the year of new computers with Windows 10 going out of end of life. So you need to call us. We'll put your icons back on. The thing that you need to do first is to have your IT team map. If it's on a server, they need to map the same drive. So if you have a B drive, it needs to be B on your new computer. And then make sure your default printer is set up. But otherwise, you need to have Microsoft Access installed and you need to have that drive mapped, and then we can set up your icons. You'll also need a transfer folder. We can help set that up. Remind us because I forget all the time. Standard SBOA funds. I think, and Kelsey can probably agree with me. I think most people are using the standard SBOA funds now. This is what they are. I haven't seen too many that are out of whack from this anymore. But if you aren't, the end of the year is a great time to get those numbers corrected to be what the SBOA has wanted. You were going to stop me when my screen died. Did you have a question? No. Okay. There wasn't a question online. Ideas from other libraries. So creating a vendor for interbank transfer and interfund transfer. If you just create a vendor that's called interbank transfer and use that vendor anytime you're doing bank transfers, it makes it really easy for you to find those at the end of the year. On the AR, I get more questions on I get an error that my transfers don't match. And we have to go in and figure out what those are. That's probably the biggest question that we get all year is, hey, when I'm trying to submit my AFR, I'm getting a notification that my transfers don't match. And it's because of the way you put them in on the AFR, but they're super easy to find if you create a vendor for interbank and interfund. And that will help you be able to easily find those. You can pull a vendor report, you know exactly what you did. And then we don't train on or project and department, but you know, especially in today's world, you might have projects that you're getting donations from everywhere in. Using projects and department to track that is a really great thing. There's some documentation out on our training website. And then also, you know, call us if you want to help set those up. So accounting changes. Okay, so we're going to talk about this a little. It's going to be interesting because most of you are online, but changing the way EFT number works. So I actually have a call into the State Board of Accounts because we were at the bookkeepers workshop in August-ish, I don't know, up in Anderson, and State Board of Accounts was there, and they said that they wanted the EFT numbers to be assigned kind of like a check number. They wanted to be able to see them sequentially. Currently, our software gives them a distinct number, but it is not sequential. Like if you hit it 3 times, 2 of them will go away because it just doesn't have them. I don't quite understand why they want this. I really think it should be the EFT number that the bank gives you so that you can track where you paid that. But that's not what they said. So we were working on designing this, and so we got it so that, you know, if you click the do not print check button, it puts an EFT number in there. You unclick it, it takes it out, put a 0. You click it again, it puts the same number back in so that it's exactly what they want. And I thought that works perfectly if everybody does it right the first time. Because now you can't change it, because if you go in and change it again, what number do you give it? Because, you know, the scenario I see is you didn't click the button. You go in to print your checks and you're like, oh, I paid that EFT. I have to take away your ability to change it, or else you'll have random ones that aren't there anymore. So I've called them to say, how do you want this to work? So there will be changes to how it's assigned. Hopefully you won't notice any changes. We were going to design it where, like, basically you do like you do for print checks, only you'd assign EFTs. So you'd pull it up, you'd look at what was in there and assign it. It's just another step for you. So I'm hoping they say, if there's ones missing, it's okay, and that's what we need. I don't quite know if they thought through everything. So there's going to be changes to that. I'm trying to make it look like what they want, but I haven't quite determined what they want, because right now, if I do it and you need to void it, you would have to actually void the voucher just to make it a not EFT. And that just doesn't seem to make sense to me. So there'll be changes coming on that. I'll show you all these. I'll pop over to the software here in a minute. And then we added a box. So if you spend over your appropriated amount, it pops up and tells you that. So, you know, I'm not here. Let's just pop over. Let's see if I can share my screen again. Let's put this. This always gets exciting because I can't really see. I should have given you a books. I can't see very well, so you guys have to tell me. Does that say books or us? No? Okay. You know what? Let me duplicate my screen. Hold on. That'll make it easier for me. We just won't go back for a minute. Moved it. Duplicate. Okay. Now let's put this one. Okay. So Books R Us. If we do make a voucher, and I happen to know, I think I have $1,000. I have 1,000. Technology is challenging today. Oh, you reverted. Sorry, guys. Okay. I have $1,000 appropriation. If I put $25 in here, nothing. I go down here and do, whoop, and put another 100. It did not pop. All right. Well, what it should do is it should pop up a message. I'm not quite sure why it's not working. That says you have spent this much and your appropriation is only this much. And it doesn't stop you. It doesn't make any, it doesn't tell you you can't do it. It just pops up a message that says, letting you know that you are now negative in your appropriations. And I'm not quite sure it's not working.
You have 1,000?
Yeah, but I already spent 900, I think. Let's go look. Oh, you know what I did? Yeah, so I had 3,000, so I have spend 3,000 there. So you guys, because I want your vote on I want your vote on the wording because so there. Warning: the total spend of 3225 exceeds the appropriation amount of 3,000. Is that okay? Is that confusing? Would you use different words? Because Brian and I were like, is spend or spent, or we want to make it as not confusing as possible. That doesn't also include like the amount that you're spending right now. So does.
Sounds good, sounds good. I like that. Sounds good.
So I think this is pretty cool, especially as things change. You know, people are like, so I think Paulette Fremont gets the award for coming up with cool ideas because this was her idea, and I was like, oh man, that sounds hard. But like I said, I brought Brian in this year, and he's going to start making some changes for us. I think that's pretty cool. In that way you can you at least know you're going over. And then all you do is click OK, and it lets you go on with your day. But it's just letting you know, and it does that on every line. So it's not looking at it, looks at it per line. The other thing I wanted to show you in here, I guess, since we're here, file maintenance, this is where that post vouchers and receipts button is. You can, you see that there. And then there was something else I said. Okay, well, we'll go real quick into payroll changes. I don't have a ton of those, so we're going to do those pretty quick, but we'll do those.
We're asking if it could be in color. I don't know if that's possible.
The text, might, yeah, we can probably do that. Brian will be like, what? Because, you know, he's a software developer and they are not into color at all, but absolutely we can do that. So there hasn't been a lot of changes. I'm going to try to walk around and I'm trying to stand behind the podium. There hasn't been a lot of changes in payroll. Payroll hasn't, you know, you pay people, it hasn't changed a lot. There's no new perf programs that I know of, that sort of thing. So the cool feature for payroll this year that we've done is when you click on a button, let's do some presenting without bifocals is a challenge. Calculate pay, next employee, calculate pay. So we've paid everyone now. When you hit done here, the button turns green and it will stay green until you hit post, and then it clears it out and starts over. So that will happen on all of the buttons. So like if I go in and I print my payroll report, which isn't going to play very well because of my, let's do this one. If you click on print checks and hit done, it turns green. And that came from, hey, I'm at a library. I get interrupted all the time. I don't remember what I've done for the payroll. So this helps you know what buttons you've used and helps you remember where you're at. Right now, when you hit done, it goes away. That won't be the case when the design is finished. It will, when you hit post to earnings, it clears all the buttons. So then that's also another great way. You know, we have people that forget to post because maybe you did it right before you went on vacation and you wanted to wait and you get back in there. You can always tell you haven't posted because there's money in there, but people don't always notice that. Now, when you go in, you'll see a whole bunch of green buttons. So that will help you know that you don't post.
Yeah, everybody.
When Brian and I were working on this one, I hate to say it, we were working on it this weekend because I had been putting it off. He's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, you don't understand these people's worlds. Like they're sitting down doing payroll and then someone comes and asks them a question. So they get up and they can't remember. So her request, Paula gets credit for this one too, was to actually highlight the button you stopped on. And we decided it would be better to highlight everything that you've done in case people do things in different orders. But he's like, is this important? I'm like, people are going to like this. So it takes a new table. It takes a little, that's why the done button, we'll fix the done button. Because right now it forgets it as soon as you leave. So we have to store the information. But I think it's pretty cool. I think it'll help you stay organized, help you notice when you don't post. So yeah, so that's that one.
This is great, especially since I have to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't change another color if you have to do it a second time.
I want to confirm it's all of the buttons except the additional payroll buttons, right? So every button except those.
Great question, and I'm just going to keep it in this format. So it is, you guys can tell me if you're different, if there's still time to vote. Right now, it is the top 4 buttons, the perf box of buttons, and the direct deposit buttons is what we'll do. So you can remember I created my Nacha file. You can remember I emailed pay stubs, but it won't be the additional reports and it won't be like the transfer from payroll or the tax vouchers. I mean, we could do those if people vote that. Brian will love me for it, but we could, you know, whatever buttons you guys decide are important. But I figured the top 4 buttons, the perf box and the direct deposit box are the important. Just overwrites it. Yeah.
The veteran Steve Brown has given it a stamp of approval.
Steve Brown likes it. Always good. Okay, so let's go back to my presentation. Federal tax filings. I get questions on this every year. W-2s, if you have more than 10 people, you have to file your IRS W-2s electronically. It's not hard to do. You create the file. It's the same file that you use for the Indiana Department of Revenue. The hardest part is getting that business services online account. If you don't have it or you don't know how to log into it, my suggestion is pull all that stuff out now. Make sure you can log in. Make sure nothing has changed because you can't submit it without that. And I get people all the time that call me and they're like, how can I get it right now? I'm like, you can get it right now. It takes 2 weeks at least. So get that done. Printing W-2s, you can still do that from our software. You know, if anyone wants to try to create those, and there's all kinds of W-2 online services where you can upload a file. I'd be happy to play with that with you. Might be able to use the same file and then you don't have to print them all. You do need to buy your W-2 forms. AVC software, I think they're all 2 up, but 2 per page is what you need to do. Amazon has them. You know, it used to be harder to find them. It's not hard now. 1099s are it's the 1099, no, changed it. Is it NEC form? 1099
Yeah,
non-employee contribute. Yeah. So it's the 1099 NEC form, and they are 3 per page. Don't buy ones that are 2 per page. They are 3 per page. Again, Amazon, I think you have to buy like 50, which is really silly because you probably need 1 or 2 of those. But I can't fix that. So
you only need 1 or 2 of them. I highly suggest using an online one because they will mail them. It's like $2 per
yeah,
1099. They'll file it with the state and file it for you. Because we're not allowed to do anything outside of that. So if you only have like less than 1099, I highly suggest using it.
yep. So what Kelsey's saying, because you probably can't hear her, is that, and I had forgotten, I usually mention this. I highly suggest actually anyone does them online. They are super easy to do online. I think on our webpage, we even have a couple places that I have like a small side business that I had to 1099 some people once. And you just log in, you create a login, you put in the information, they send it electronically to the person, they send it to the IRS for you, they do all the filing, and it's like $2 a person. So it's so much easier than buying the forms, printing the forms, sending the forms, making sure you have the right address. So you just log in like W-2 online or 1099 on, I'm sure Google can tell you, but it's super easy to do. So that's
The
it.
one that we have on our, if you go to training on your software, the one that we have online under like the end of year stuff, it's one of the little boxes for 1099s. That's the one that I use and it is great. File your 1099s online and these links. That's the one I use. It works. So it's fine.
Yep. So what Kelsey's saying is this is the one that she uses. This is the one I've used before. It looks like, $1.63 per form, probably more, a little bit more for each of you because that's 500. I haven't seen a library that needs more than usually 2 pages worth. Super easy. You don't have to print them. You don't have to mail them. You don't have to file the 1096 with the IRS. They do that all for you. So, and that was on our training webpage right here. We'll update some links. As we're here though, I want to talk about a couple things. The county tax rates. I have been looking. I have not seen an updated county tax rate. Okay, I'm getting a shake. I haven't seen an updated county tax rate. Usually that comes out in October. So my guess is it might at some point. If it does, we'll put it here, but I would just Google Indiana county tax rates when you're doing your things and see if they've changed them. To my knowledge, there has been nothing that has changed. State tax rates are going down by 0.05. Just a gentle reminder that we update the state and the federal tax rates. We do not update the county. So if county tax rates do change, you need to update that yourself. And there are a couple ways to do that. For all employees or individually, we can talk through that. In fact, I'll show you that right now. How is it? Okay, so to update everyone's county tax rate, if you go to file maintenance, there is a update all employees county tax rates. And you can just put what the new one is and it will update everyone's. My recommendation is most people have maybe 1 or 2 different people that are in different counties. Go in, change them all, and then fix the other ones if they've also changed. The other thing that I really like here is this edit employee deductions. So if you're, at the end of the year, you'll see mine are all other. At the end of the year, if you need to change deductions for health insurance or that sort of thing, that's an easy place to do it. So you don't have to go into each individual employee. You can also change their rates of pay and their salary or their vacation and leave time and everything right here. That way you don't have to do it for you don't have to go into every individual employee. So this time of year is a good time to go into file maintenance to see if you're ever looking for things like that. Okay, end of year walkthrough. We've had great success with these. And what we do in this, there are 4 dates, 1 a week for the 4 weeks of January. We walk through how to create W-2s. We walk through how to transfer your data from 2025 to 2026. We walk through what you need to be doing and checking when you're closing out the year. And then, we walk through all those things. We do it as a small group. I think there's 25 allowed. Everybody's unmiked, so you can ask questions. You can even do it with us if you want, like on your software, as we're doing it on ours. And it's really helped people, just the people that are, I think I know how to do this, but I'm a little scared. I'd rather you walk me through it. So we walk through that. We do, like I said, one a week. We'll also walk through it with you personally if you'd like, but we have 150 of you this year, so that gets busy. I would much rather you at least attend one of these first. If you still have questions, call us. I will say that January 26th is the last one. W-2s are not due till the 31st. I have a business event starting the 27th and will be out until the 31st. Kelsey will be around, but if you need me, I will be harder to get. I am always available for customers. I will step out if I need to, but I would appreciate it if before the 26th, you would have your W-2s done. I think I need to send out gold stars for that, because I'm always so excited when people start getting those done, because then we know that everything's working and it's all good. So encumbering funds. I like to walk. Go ahead.
Will you have site registration open for the end of the year?
For those things, probably the next week or so.
Yeah.
Those are pretty easy, because it's just put them on a calendar and register for them. It's the scheduling that's harder, because if you don't have what we have learned over the years is everybody that does updates, if you forget you have a doctor's appointment and 5 minutes after we send out the link, you can no longer block off your doctor's appointment on your calendar, because everybody clicks on it and pretty soon your whole calendar is full 8 hours a day. So we're trying to make sure everybody's calendar is exactly right so that we don't have to move people around.
We didn't do lunch one year. We regret it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So we schedule anywhere between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Although I'll talk about this now a little bit. I am more than happy to schedule outside of those hours. I know a lot of you are part-time and you work crazy hours, and I'm happy to do that. You just need to send me an email or send an email to accounting and we'll get that done for you. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to come in special. I mean, we might say, well, that Saturday doesn't work, but how about this Saturday? But we're happy to do that. I mean, it's no big deal. Other thing I like to cover at the end of the year is encumbering funds. I feel funny talking to most people in this room because I'm sure you guys have all done it 1,000 times. But for those of you on the phone, encumbering funds is done in 2026. So let me say this, encumbering funds is done in your 2026 software, but you need to encumber those funds at a board meeting prior to that. So what you'll do is at a board meeting, you'll have a resolution to encumber a certain amount of funds. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but these are funds that you have already agreed to buy. It's not like, hey, I have an extra $1,000 I want to encumber it. It is like, I've bought computers and ABC has not delivered them yet, so I'm encumbering my funds. You do that in 2026. So you create a spreadsheet. I think the way most people do it is you create a spreadsheet and it's got all the bills that you want to encumber your funds for. You get that approved by the board, and then we create an encumbered account in 2026. And when you pay those bills, you pay them out of that account, so they come out of your 2025 money, not your 2026 budget. Everybody get that? There's steps here. I won't go through step by step, but basically you set up the new account and then you spend money from that. There's also a tutorial on our training website about that. I get calls on this all the time. So don't hesitate to call us either, but there is training out there. Changes to appropriations. This is done in the current year, so in 2025. And mostly what this is you're to the end of the year. I don't have enough money in my assistance budget, so I'm moving money from my director budget or whatever it is. I don't have enough money in books, so I'm moving money from supplies. There are rules around, I believe, people in the room can correct me if I'm wrong, you can move within the category without a board resolution, but you need a board resolution to move from like salaries to supplies. So you can move without a board resolution. And this is how you do that. There's a changes to appropriations. If you go into here and this bright orange one, number 10, changes to appropriations, you'll just put in like 12, 1, 25. I can't see, gotta love it. Let's choose a date. 12, 2. And then 100, and then we'll do books, because remember our books was low. We want to add $1,000, $100, and then we'll move. Then we would move it out of somewhere else. So maybe you'd move it out of office supplies and put it in there. And to move it out, you would just do. You would do. We want to move it out of the 4 software. We already bought the software. You just do a negative. Did I not get a negative in there? Negative 100. And so that's taking it out of one and putting it into the other. I like to do them one at a time. Say, for instance, you're pulling $5,000 out of software and you want to give 2,500 to books and 2,500 to something else. I would do it as 4 transactions, 25, 25, 25, 25, not 5 and 25, 20. It just, if anyone ever needs to look at it, my goal is to make anything that you do, anyone ever needs to look at, say you get audited in a few years and they look at those, it's really easy for them to do this, this, this. If you have them as big chunks and then little chunks, it's just harder. So I just like to do it that way. I don't think there's any legal rules around that, but for me, it's just easier to see. Okay, any questions on changes to appropriations? Bonuses. I got 4 calls yesterday on creating bonuses. So let's go over that really quick. It's not hard. There are options. The easiest way is to include a bonus as part of a payroll. That is by far the easiest way, because you're doing one payroll. You go into edit additional pay. You give everybody $200 extra. It adds it into their pay. Everything is easy. That is not how everybody wants to do it. And I get it. People want to create a separate bonus check, like this is a bonus. I gave you a bonus, because otherwise, especially in today's society where it shows up in your bank account, people don't even notice it sometimes. And if you want to show that you have a bonus, then let's go into payroll. So you can add it in this edit additional pay. We'll give everybody $100. So we're going to give everybody a $100 bonus, and we're going to create a separate check for it. The way you do that is you go into set pay, and then you hit this calculate bonus button. So instead of using the calculate pay button, you hit calculate bonus. The thing that does is it only takes FICA and Medicare out. It does not take federal, state, and county. It's not required to. That's okay, because those are all calculated at the end. The only word of caution I have is if you're giving someone like a $5,000 bonus, we probably want to do it a different way, because they're going to want to take federal taxes out, because that's a big enough amount that you'll want to take the federal taxes out. Otherwise, they're going to pay it at the end of the year. It doesn't matter. But they may not want to pay at the end of the year. If you're giving small $1,000 or less bonuses, even probably a couple, I would do it this way. It's totally legal for the IRS, but it just takes FICA and Medicare out. So you do that, you calculate everybody's pay, and you run it just like a normal payroll. So if you do perf, you submit perf. If you do a notcha file, you submit a notcha file. Every single step you do in a normal payroll, you need to do in your bonus payroll. If you pay taxes every payroll, then you need to pay taxes. If you do it with your Indiana state tax, which you only pay monthly, it will combine it in. Do you have a question or a thought?
I was gonna say for PERF, if you plan on doing bonuses on a date that is different from your payroll dates, you have to call PERF and have them add that bonus date as a date in order to submit your PERF.
Yes. So for those of you online that didn't hear Kelsey, she said you have to call PERF if you're doing it. Say we do payrolls on the 15th and the 30th, and we want to do a bonus on the 18th. You need to call PERF and you need to say, I'm going to do another payroll, and they will add that date so that you have the ability to upload that file. The other thing is, if you're doing them as two separate, we cannot combine them. We can't make, like if you're doing two separate paychecks on the same date, that doesn't get you one PERF file, so you need to, my recommendation, just to make it easier with PERF, is to do one on the 14th and one on the 15th, because then PERF will give you a date for the 14th and you already have the 15th. We don't combine files. My dad used to do all these crazy things for the people that did that. And it's like, just get a separate date with PERF. It's kind of convoluted to do it that way. So get a second date with PERF. It's easy from what I hear. They're pretty helpful. So any questions on bonuses? I guess the other thing to remind is some people do direct deposit all year, but want to give a physical paper check as their bonus so that like you're handing it to them. If you want to do that, you have to turn off their direct deposit, and there is a button down here, turn off all employees direct deposit, and that basically tells the system that you want to print them a check, and then you just go back in and turn it back on. People asked us for that button a few years ago. All right, any other questions on bonuses? Any questions online from bonuses?
We had one about how to calculate if you want the net pay to be like a set amount. Give me a call. I have a calculator. I'll get it.
Okay, so Kelsey said, I usually give this warning. I always tell people, if you have the ability to influence your board, have them give you a gross pay amount for bonus, not the net pay. If they give you a net pay of $200, you have to figure out how to gross it up to pay $215 to cover the taxes. Whereas if they give you the gross pay, so they get $194 or whatever. It's much easier for you. Kelsey has a calculator. She's happy to use it. If you get that directive from your board, go ahead and do that. You just have to figure out, those are both calculated amounts. So I always just say, ask the board to do a gross pay, not a net pay bonus. Okay, cleaning up the year. Brenda, I think we're going to be early, just FYI to you. Cleaning up the year. Void any checks that are more than 2 years old. I recommend doing it in 2025 software as long as you can, because there's no reason to move those over to 2026 if you don't need to. Do them now. Get that cleaned up. Look for any EFTs that are more than 30 days old. They probably aren't going to happen. I've had people that have had IRS payments hanging out for 6 months. I'm like, the IRS clearly didn't get that money, so let's avoid that. To my knowledge, if it's an EFT, you don't have to wait 2 years, because if they didn't get it in 30 days, they're never going to get it. It's not like there's a check hanging out. It's going to happen. Make old unused vendors inactive. If you go into the accounting software and go into the vendors list, there's an inactive button. If you're never going to use them again, make them inactive. My recommendation for that, instead of deleting vendors, is if you ever want to go back and look at history, you won't have that ability. So just make them inactive, then they won't show up in your list. That's another thing I find people do sometimes. If you go into the disbursements list, say for instance, you have some categories that you budgeted for last year, but you didn't budget for this year, you can just uncheck the use box, and then those won't show up. I love it when light bulbs go off. Then those won't show up, because what happens if you have them in your list, you use them, and then because you're looking through and you're like, oh, that'll work, and then you end up with funny looking lines on your appropriation report. We can help with those lines, by the way. If you have that where you have like an original appropriation of 0 and a negative or a number sign or whatever at the end, we can help with that. It's actually a 2-step process. You need to go in and clean up the vouchers with those accounts on them. And then you need to go into the original appropriations and delete that line. And if you don't clean it up first, it's going to put it back and you're going to be like, what happened? Like, I removed it and it's still there. But using this use box is good. And especially as budgets are changing, you know, you might have categories that you don't use anymore. The other thing you can do for 2026 is you can add budget line items here. So you would just go in and add a new one if you have a line item in your budget for 2026 that you didn't have. Question? Yep.
We've had vendors twice in the system. One was just correctly or like spelled incorrectly. They both used this year. So first of the year, 2026. That's correct.
Yep. So yeah, so vendors where you have multiple, you know, somebody did, you know, accidentally put one in. If there's currently, if you spell it the same, it'll pop up and say, hey, you have one. If you spell it incorrectly, then it won't tell you that. But yeah, we can clean that up at the end of the year. If it was only one, we could actually clean that up going forward. But definitely, if you have multiple, go in and clean those up at the end of the year. Good question. Balance, I put this one in capitals, and the reason I did it is because not everybody knows this. Balance every bank account. So every bank account in ABC really should be balanced either monthly or quarterly. Some of the investment accounts, I think you get statements quarterly. If you get a statement in your hand, you should think, I need to balance my ABC software. I have people, you know, there have been people that never balance their savings account because it's a savings account. Well, you get interest into it, and, you know, get to the end of the year. So just make sure that if it's a bank with a number in ABC, you should be balancing it. Even petty cash, really, you should be looking at, did we add money to petty cash? Did we remove money from petty cash? And are we tracking that? So balance every bank account. If you haven't done that, start with this year. Go back and start in January and get them all balanced. And then always, always, always at the bottom of your financial report is the bank balance and the fund balance down here. Clearly, I have a demo environment. These should match every single day. They should never match. And if they don't match, call us, because it's a whole lot easier for us to find why they don't match soon than 5 years from now when you're like, oh, well, those haven't matched for 5 years. And I have gone back and found it, but it is really hard. And then you got to make changes going forward because something is off. And generally, if it's in your 2026 software, something came over. Almost always what happens is people put a receipt in 2025 at the end of the year. That's a 2025 receipt, but it pops today's date. They put a 2026 date on it, then they can't find it. So they go in and do it again, and it comes over as a 2026 date. So then your banks and your funds are off. That's almost always what happens. So just make sure at the end of the year, it's really hard on those receipts, because if you're putting them in January, you're balancing your bank statement in January, you're putting your interest receipts in, you have to be very diligent on that date because it'll put the 2026 date in and then they're lost. The other thing you can do is just in your 2025 software, you can move it out to like January 15th as your end date, and then you can see any of those things. So if you ever do that, I'll show that. Let's say, for instance, I'm at the end of 2025. I go in and I put my receipt in, and I put it in for 1/8/26 because that's what it defaults to. I don't remember to look at it. And then we'll do $20. Then I hit here. It tells me the date is wrong. I must have added that last year. What a good job. Okay, well, hopefully that won't be a problem this year.
That would go, if you, someone locked in, you click X on accident, close it out, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
The wrong date, because I've gone back through, and like that says 16 or something, or the date or the month. is something.
Well, and let me, that's a great rule to demonstrate. So Kelsey was giving in the room an example. I'm going to put this receipt in here. This is why done is important. You see when I hit done here, it's got checks. It's got, let me keep you honest checks in it. And it's telling me that the date is wrong. If I go, instead of hitting done, I hit X and close that, no checks. So on all of our screens, the done buttons have checks on them. So that's why you should always use the done button, because it double checks things that you might have forgotten or missed. Good point there. All right, fund tax. Oh,
Sorry. So the fund report, I know this doesn't usually, confusing, but when we're going in and we pull over the fund balances, if you go back through and are looking at your beginning of your fund balances and go, oh, there's a mistake. Like, you know that there's a reason for it, it's totally fine, you're gonna explain it to FBLA when they go, hey, your funds don't match, whatever it is. You can make those changes, but, when you run the, financial report, in the same way that the ending fund balance and the bank balance on the bottom should match, your ending fund balance at the beginning of the year should match your ending bank balance from December 31st. Just have this issue with a new customer that had come on, and I couldn't figure out why they were balancing, because the beginning balance of their funds was different from their ending balance, bank balance from the year. So just make sure that you're also checking back on the first column when you bring
right.
it over, if you make any changes to your banks or fund balances.
Exactly. So what Kelsey is saying in the room is basically, and we'll talk about this when we go through the this checklist that we have. But you need to check each individual fund. We pull them all over for you. And they should be the same, but every once in a while they aren't for some reason, but pull them over and check every, you need to take a 2025 December 31st and a January 1 and look at them, and they should be exactly the same amounts. If they aren't, call us. We'll help you figure that out. The other thing to do is the first is on a Thursday this year. So some of you might actually work on the first. My recommendation is don't date any voucher or receipt for the first. It's a holiday. Pretend you didn't work. Date them the second, because then you can easily go back, pull a financial report for the first of the year, and they match. If you put receipts or vouchers on the first, then they aren't the same anymore. It just makes it easier, and nobody cares nothing happens on the first, so don't do that there. A few fun state tax things. Indiana, I say it upload electronically if over 25. I think in today's world, you have to upload your W-2s electronically. And if you aren't doing it, please do. It's super easy for the state, and we create the file for you. So there's no reason not to electronically upload those. Federal, over 10 employees, this is the one we talked about earlier. You got to have that BSO online, and that's tied to the person. So if you didn't do it last year, it's important. I'm looking at the Greenwood people here because I happen to know that neither of them probably did it last year. Order your forms now. We talked about that, so I'll go over that quick. End of year checklists. I think did Brenda get that posted? Okay, so I have the checklist in front of me. I think those, let's go out to our training website. We'll see if they're out there. They are on the training website. Let's see if she got this one. Yep, 2025. So we'll go here. We're going to talk about these. I will not go into huge detail, but let's cover these a little bit. I'm going to put my glasses on because I can't see them. So payroll checklist. So for those of you that are new, because I think we have 10 new customers this year, we're going to give you a whole new 2026 software. And in that 2026 software, the day you get it, you can go in and you can update any leave balances. You can update any rates of pay, and you can if you have any county tax rates that need to be updated, you can do all that the day you get your software. I will tell you, we bring over start of year balances in leave. Most of you do different. We've tried to figure out a way to figure out how to bring leave over. And what we learned is that nobody does it the same. Some libraries you can carry over everything. Some libraries you can carry over PTO, but not sick. Some libraries you start every year with the same bucket at the beginning of the year. Some libraries you can carry over up to a maximum. So you need to check your leave balances. Do that when you first go in. So that will be, that's something that you can do the day you get your software. W-2s, there's a here. The thing that I will to W-2s is there's a button that says fill this in first. Click on that button. That button has information that you use for the to create the file for the IRS and everything. I put fill this in first thinking that would, I think I need to click here and fill this in first, because if people have any trouble with their file, 50% of the time it's because they forgot to click that button and it still has our demo data in it. So double check that that's all this right. You have to do in the W-2 program them in order. So just walk down the line. Creating the 100R is like step 5. You can't do that before you create your W-2s. You have to do the W-2s first. They create the data to create the 100R. So that's really only the notes there. As for the accounting software for 2026, once you get your 2026 software, you can go in and the main thing you need to do is add your appropriations for the year. You have your budgets. Go ahead and add that. Once you've done that, you can pull your appropriation report, make sure it matches your budget, make sure the total all add up and everything, and then just wait patiently. Well, at that point, you can start entering vouchers and receipts. You don't need to wait until you've closed out 2025 to enter your vouchers and receipts. So, you know, from day one, pretty much, the thing that I will caution is your reports will not be right, because it will be the balances that we copied when we copied your software. So if we did your update on the 15th, there will be things that aren't in there. Until you finish 2025 and pull your numbers over, none of your reports will be right, because you haven't told us what the numbers are yet. So 2026 though, put your appropriations in, you can off to the races, start spending money. 2025. So let's talk a little bit about what it takes to close out the year. You need to balance every single account. Everything should be balanced. And that's pretty much, that's what I consider closed. You need to also make sure that, you know, the category, you know, you don't want to change any fund balances, or, you know, you're not, if you're going to go in and double check things, do that before you pull things over. Close it out. You're going to make sure that you've uploaded everything to the Gateway. There's a whole list of reports there that have to go to Gateway. Those are all at the bottom of the screen. So you're good there. In the 2026 software though, so once you've closed out 2025, I'm going to open 2026, and there's buttons there. It says number 18 and number 28. That's where you're pulling everything over. And I'll show you where that is. And remember, I am in 2026 software, whatever color it happens to be, maybe hot pink. There is a button on 18, and there's a button on 28. Let's talk about what those do. So number 18, you can only do once. You can't do it twice. If you do it twice, it makes a mess. And it's going to tell you that. I think you have to say, I really want to do this like 3 times. And that's because it really makes a mess if you do it more than once. There are instructions on here of how to tell if you've done it. You go into the software and it's called Ensure No One Else Has Transferred Open Checks. Follow those steps. Those steps are important. What happens if you do it twice? All your open checks come over twice, and all your 2025 vouchers come over twice. So if you look at, if you go into prior year vouchers, you'll see each voucher twice. So it's just a mess. It can be cleaned up. We have cleaned it up for people, but we would much rather you call us and say, have I done this yet? And we'll walk you through the steps. So that's important. Number 28 can be hit as many times as you want. All it's doing is taking your end of year fund balances, bank balances, and bringing them over to the new year. When I see this needed most is when people have, January 15th, they've closed out everything, they moved everything over, and then they start doing their AFR and they're like, this was not right. It should have come out of this fund or something, and then they have to correct it. And then we have to pull the balances over again. But that one can be done a bunch. Number 18, only do it once. And that's really it. I mean, it's really a pretty simple process. You go in, you pull the things, you finish up the things and you pull them over and start. So questions on either of those? I went through those fast, but they're pretty detailed. That is true. Project and department budgets do not transfer over. You need to, yep. And that's kind of, especially the department budgets, they're basically department appropriations. So you're going to have to set up new ones because they wouldn't be the same as last year's anyway. They would be different for each year. Okay. Sure. Okay. So where to find vouchers, where to post it, we're in file maintenance, and this only red button on the screen. People like colors, so that one's the only red one because that one is hard to undo, is the post vouchers and receipts. Note that that is based on the dates that are here. So if you're trying to post monthly, you would want the monthly dates. Otherwise you're going to post, like here, I would post up and through 12/25. So make sure that those dates are set correctly. And then the clear zeros button is a really cool button. If I go in here and I make a voucher, we're going to put a whole bunch of things there. And let's put $10 here. And then I'm going to put copy dollars down here. I'm going to put my $10 down here. I don't want these zeros because they make my voucher messy. Normally you wouldn't have added them. These came over as your defaults. You hit this clear zeros button and they're gone. So it just makes your voucher a lot prettier. Anything else I forgot to cover? Okay. Question? Yep.
For the post vouchers and receipts, you're saying that's something you would do in 2026 software?
No, you do it at 2025 and you would set your date from 12/1 to 12/31 or 1/1 to 12/31, and that would post them all for the year.
And that's a requirement?
It is not a requirement, but that's when a lot of people do it.
Okay.
I don't know that there is a legal requirement on it. The nice thing about that is it means you can't edit anything. So you can't accidentally go in and change things. A few warnings. Let us know if you have anything special in your program that would not be standard. I'm going to use you guys as an example. You have timesheets. No one else except for Danville has that now because I got my arm twisted and I gave that away. But there are a few other things that people have special. My dad used to give things away special all the time. As you get 150 customers, it's a little harder to do special. But if you have something special and you know about it, we try to keep notes, but we're in our busy season not always good at keeping notes. The other thing to note is that some of you have special tab stops. And I'll talk about that. So by default, we don't stop at project and department. But if you use project and department a lot, you probably ask us each year to change the tab stops. So think about where your tab stops. So like if I go here, I'm in computer. So yeah, see how it doesn't stop at department standardly, but if you use department a lot, we can make it stop at department. So you just have to let us know to change your tab stops. Our preference is that you know about that first, so that when we're on the phone with you, when we do your update, we can do it then. just because then you don't have to call us back and wait for us to call you back. But those are a couple of things that might be special. So if you can remember that. And then I put this everywhere. You must balance your checking account to the penny each month. That means if that difference is anything other than zero, it does not balance. I had a bookkeeper once who did not. He would run through the thing and then he would print it off and he considered himself balanced, but he was off by random hundreds of dollars each month. And I'm so tell us, Kelsey and I both love to find penny or $3,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is you're off. Call us. We're happy to help you balance. I always tell people don't spend more than 30 minutes. If you need more than 30 minutes, give us a call. Sometimes a second set of eyes sees something very obvious and we're happy to help with that. So, but please, please, please balance because we will go back with you till you balanced and help, but we prefer to do it 1 month at a time. Oh, here's a little slide on Done For You Accounting. This is really created for those small libraries that just can't find a bookkeeper. So that, huh? Yeah, Kelsey will do it. So we have a few libraries that have us do a variety of things in their accounting. Most of them are smaller, not all. But you know, it's just we only started that not because we want to take any bookkeeper's job, but because we had people begging us to do that for those small libraries that need a couple hours a month. So scheduling updates. That click here does not work yet. I told you it'll work by the end of the week. Then you can click there and it'll go. I used to have to put the benefits. If anybody remembers a long time ago, my dad would say, call me when you're ready. And people would pick up the phone and they'd call him and he'd do their update. And that's how we did things. With 150 customers, this is just a really great time to, you know, you get the hour. It takes about 20 minutes. We'll log onto your computer. We'll do the update. We'll call you back, make sure it all works for you, and you'll be done. We schedule an hour because we have slow internet, we have people that can't get connected, you know, all those things. So, and like I said earlier, if you need an out of office hours time, just let us know.
There's multiple people, like both Susan and I have it, we both need to schedule.
No. So that was a great question. So if you have multiple people on the computer, you both don't need to schedule a time. Ideally, you are both available at the time. It takes us about an hour to do the first one, and the second one takes like 5 minutes. So my recommendation is have as many people as you can available in that hour time slot. Really the second, you know, after about 20 minutes is when we'll need you, because what we'll do is we'll connect to through one person's computer, we'll update all the files, we'll get everything ready, and then all we have to do on your computer is create the shortcut. So it's a 5-minute job for the second person. My recommendation is if they aren't all here, just call us back and we'll get it. You know, actually don't call us, send us an email that says so-and-so needs the accounting software, and then we'll call you. You know, that's when we know, oh, hey, we finished an update early. I can call and do that really quick. So first available date is December 17th. People always ask me why it is so late. I would love to give you the software now. Well, not quite now because it's not quite done, but it will be done by then. Tax tables don't come out till December 15th. I keep thinking that in today's modern age, they should be able to get them out before December 15th. They do not. Why? I looked yesterday, there is a draft out. Last year, I thought, I'm safe. Like, it's a draft. It's posted on the internet. I was not safe. It did change. And so tax table should come out December 15th. That gives me 2 days to put the correct tax tables in and do testing to make sure everything's right. I don't want to rush that because tax tables are so important. The last thing we need is 150 libraries calculating taxes incorrectly. So December 17th, unless for some reason the tax tables don't come out, and then you early birds will get moved. But that's why they just, I don't know why they can't figure out what our tax rates are November 15th. I just don't understand that, but okay. So for accounting only customers, if you have a desperate need to get it done, you can shoot us an email. I will be real honest with you. I'm still working on that feature of, well, I guess the accounting software is pretty good. It's the payroll with the green buttons that we're still working on. I'd say possibly the week of before the 15th if you're accounting only. If you desperately need it, but when should I schedule? So that's another important thing. You don't have to panic about scheduling. It isn't urgent. And in fact, some people like to wait till the end because if you add a new vendor in 2025 after we've given you the 2026 software, you have to add that new vendor into the 2026 software too, because we pull your vendor file as of the day we do your update. So my recommendation is, understand that. So if you have a payroll, so let's talk about what to run where. This is always a big question. Oops, I forgot to change a year. I thought I got them all. If the check date is 2026, you need to run it in your 2026 software. So it doesn't matter what day you're paying people for. The IRS could care less. If the check date is in December, it needs to be run in your 2026 or in January. If the check date is 2026, it needs to be run in 2026. It needs to be on their 2026 W-2. If the check date is December 2025, it needs to be run in 2025. So if you're paying on 12/31/25, that runs in your 2025 software. If you're paying on January 2nd, it needs to be in your 2026 software. Every year I have a couple people that run one in the wrong place, and it does two things. It will mess up their 2025 W-2, and it will not put it in the right place for 2026. So the check date is what you need to do. So if you have a payroll on January 2nd, you do need to have your software before then. So keep that in mind. Accounting doesn't really matter. Once you get your software, you can start entering things. If you don't have your software, you can't enter things. The one thing to note is obviously you'll probably want your software before your board meeting if you're running January. So, other questions on that? All right, contact information one more time. This is actually my personal number. So I would actually, let's go back up to here because that's for me. You could call me and ask me certain things, but if you want to get accounting things done, use this. Questions? Any questions from, it's been really quiet. Usually we have like 30 people in the room and I get questions and conversation. Yep.
Since we have timesheets, when do we need to email you to remind you?
Just tell us when we do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Or if you forget, we'll do it later, but, and you'll probably want me to do that since, although Kelsey's getting better at the one-offs, they have timesheets. I said you probably want me to do your update. Yeah. So maybe someday we'll rewrite our time clock software and then it will have the things that you like for timesheets. And if you're on the phone and you hear me talking about timesheets, it's not for sale. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions online?
Somebody asked, Carl asked if, anybody was gonna kind of investigate rules, and the two of us responded that if you're not part of the idiot of the speaker email group, you should be, because we'll answer all your questions.
Yep.
As much as we can, obviously, we're all, not all of us, but obviously, it's library bookkeepers, so don't take it as gospel, like you're trying to do it. But the SBA doesn't like to give fully detailed responses, so we can say here's how we do it. Okay.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and just so everybody knows about that, I think I sent out some information, but there's an Indiana bookkeepers group. It's kind of like
it's kind of like the listener, but the bookkeeper at Tipton Library is the one who like the Google message.
and they did a bookkeeping conference and they also have like, you can ask questions and stuff. We also have a Facebook group that people belong to. You can just request to join that. And that's where I'll do my poll when we get to colors. I guess I'm gonna open this up and we're gonna have to, I don't know how we're gonna pull it, but if you have color suggestions, put them in the chat. And if you have the little pound FFGGBBA for it, that's even better, because then I don't have to look it up. So if you have questions or pounds, all right, anything else? All right, well, thank you all for attending. I guess now we're about right. For those of you here, there's lunch in the back. We'd love to have you join us. Probably the Greenwood staff is going to get a few, because I think we have 30 lunches and maybe 10 people. But thank you all for joining. Definitely give us a call if you have questions, or send us an email. Check out that training website. And then, oh, lavender. I'm gonna love to see. I'm not gonna be able to hang out because I'm gonna have to.
Lavender, navy, purple.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on those. But thank you very much, and have a great day. Hopefully, the snow is nice for all of us driving home. Talk to you soon. All right. Well, thank you all. Definitely eat.